The final Senate confirmation vote for Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent is set for today. This after the Senate voted Friday to confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Vice President J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote after Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Mitch McConnell all voted against Pete Hegseth. Kristi Noem is also confirmed to lead the Department of Homeland Security this past Saturday. Tomorrow's hearings include Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Health and Human Services, Small Business Administration nominee Kelly Loeffler, and Commerce Secretary pick Howard Lutnick. FBI Director nominee Kash Patel and DNI choice Tulsi Gabbard will testify on Wednesday. Joining me now is Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty, a member of the Senate Banking, Foreign Relations, and Appropriations Committees. Senator, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
It's good to be with you, as always.
I want to get your take on these upcoming hearings. I've got to say, I mean, I'm glad President Trump has 4 nominees that have now been confirmed. But, Senator, we're talking about 4 people. President Trump has been in office now a week. Why can't he have his cabinet in place? It certainly feels to me like the majority, 53 Republican senators, are allowing the minority, 47 Democrat senators, to run the table on these hearings.
Well, what we've seen is the minority is using every procedural trick in the book.
Yes.
They've tried to slow us down dramatically. We would have been much further along, even in Trump's first term. Clearly, in Obama's first term, we had 12 cabinet members seated in the first 15 days. What we saw happen back in Trump's first term was the resistance movement unfold against us. The Democrats applied all these procedural measures, slowed us down dramatically. We returned the favor. In Joe Biden's administration, John Thune offered to move back to a more normal sequence, as we've done in Obama. The Democrats have no interest in it. We've gone through massive political gyrations, but we're going to push these nominees through. That's why we were here, willing to go through the night into early Sunday morning. The Democrats finally came to an 11th hour agreement to let us move Scott Bessent later today. But we're going to keep pushing these through, grinding these through. There is no reason to be slowing all of this down, particularly when you think about the national security crises that we face as a nation. The American public wants us to get to work. They expect President Trump to be on the case. The Democrats are, yet again, doing everything they can to slow things down and throw sand into the gears.
So how much confidence do you have that we'll have a significant string of confirmations at the end of this week? For example, what about Pam Bondi? I mean, you're right to mention national security issues, and that's why I've talked about this with such urgency. I mean, we've got serious national security issues, and the president needs his team on the ground.
Certainly we do, and Pam Bondi is just a top priority nominee for us. She will get confirmed. There's no question about that. Getting Pam and getting Kash Patel into position to deal with the national security crises and threats that we face here domestically is absolutely critical. She's high priority. She's in this first wave that will go. She will go, and I have every reason to expect she'll go on a bipartisan basis. We just got to get the Democrats to realize this and start to work with us more closely. The American public expect it.
Yes, and your colleagues in the House kicking off this 3-day conference this afternoon in President Trump's Doral Golf Club in Florida. Committee chairs set to hold several reconciliation meetings on how to pass and execute the agenda into one bill. But President Trump also signed an executive order giving him more control over California's water. After touring the wildfire damage in the area with the First Lady on Friday, he urged officials to release the water to Los Angeles. Now you're discussing whether wildfire and a raise in the salt cap should be added to the reconciliation bill. How do you see this playing out, Senator?
I think all of these are possibilities. What we need to do is get as many things accomplished as quickly as we possibly can. Look, the situation in Florida is urgent. It makes sense to put it on a piece of legislation that's moving through quickly. That's certainly going to help us bring along various Florida members, I think, that should be part and parcel of this. And if you just step back for a minute and think about where America saw this country in November of this last year, 75% of Americans said we were on the wrong track as a nation, Maria. The American people voted. President Trump won every single battleground state, a landslide in the Electoral College. He won the popular vote. Democrats should wake up and realize the public needs us to make significant change. These are the vehicles that will allow those changes to occur. I hope we'll get their support.
And, of course, President Trump continues to talk about this bold agenda. I want to get your take on things like the Gulf of America, the idea of the Panama Canal, Greenland, all these new ideas, the External Revenue Service, which I thought was brilliant to come up with ideas and to house those fees and tariff revenue that he's talking about. Here's your colleague, the leader of the majority leader of the U.S. Senate with me yesterday, John Thune. Watch. What are you looking for in terms of specifics in bulking up America's defense?
Well, obviously, our Navy, and if you look at the number of ships we have relative to our adversaries, particularly China, that's something the president is interested in, an American Iron Dome concept. But frankly, the thing we've got to do, Maria, is we've got to increase the top line. We have underfunded, and in the Biden budget, there wasn't a single Biden budget that kept up with the rate of inflation when it comes to the military. And so we've got some making up to do. I think there's a very compelling argument on Panama, a very compelling argument on Greenland, and an optimism in America that we haven't seen in a long time. I think this has been a sluggish country, a country that's been bogged down under the weight of government regulation and red tape and taxation.
Senator, how will you address all of that?
Well, Senator Thune certainly is focused on the process that are going to be moving through right now to make certain that our military is adequately funded. But I've had great conversations with Elon Musk about what we can do from an operational efficiency standpoint, deploying new technologies, making certain that the most relevant technologies that are available in the private sector are being deployed in our military. The focus is going to be back on lethality and effectiveness, not on pronouns at the Pentagon now. Pete Hegseth has got that message loud and clear. I'm excited about what may come in terms of deploying new technologies, new ways to make America's warfighters the most lethal in the world. So I think the combination of the ongoing effort that we've got from a legislative standpoint, plus the operational efforts that are taking place with the Department of Government Efficiency, need to come to bear in full force. And our procurement exercises in the Department of Defense, making certain that we have our men and women in the military in as great a position as we possibly can to deliver for the American people.
So what kind of offsets do you want to see in order to get all of this done? I mean, you know, it's interesting to take a look at China in particular, given that is the adversary that you all have talked about and talk about every day. Would Scott Bessent support capital market sanctions against Chinese corporate bad actors who are, you know, who are trading on our U.S. exchanges today, enabling Americans to fund their expansion and their growth, even though this is the #1 adversary of America? What else can be done regarding China, Senator?
I think there's so much that can be done regarding China accessing our capital markets, Maria. One of my pet peeves is allowing Chinese companies that have golden share arrangements to list on our capital markets. You know what a golden share is. That's a minority stake that the Chinese government, the CCP, has control of that can actually be a veto for any corporate action that one might take. They have this control over ByteDance. They have this sort of control over Tencent. It's amazing that these companies are allowed to list here. The American public does not understand the extent of control that the Chinese Communist Party has over their champion industries, yet they're allowed to come here, take capital from our markets, the most efficient capital markets in the world, in a situation that is entirely unfair when you think about it from a corporate governance standpoint. There are many ways I think that Scott Bessent can look at these critical issues and I hope address them very quickly.
And are you expecting the debt ceiling issue to be on the table in March? Is that in that funding bill, deadline March 14th? How do you address the debt that we talk about so much, where you've got actually the interest rising so much more than some of our major priorities like defense, like children?
Yeah, President Trump wants the debt ceiling dealt with as quickly as possible. In the past, it's always been used by the Democrats as a cudgel to force actually more spending. We could deal with this in a number of fashions, perhaps dealing with it alongside disaster relief for California or others, but we need to deal with it right up front, quickly and effectively, and not let this become an issue or a hurdle to get larger things accomplished.
Senator, we're watching your work closely. We so appreciate your time and leadership. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right,
Maria.
Senator Bill Hagerty there.